Hey everyone, welcome back to Wrath of Math. I'm your host, Sean E, and in today's video we'll be going over how to multiply complex numbers. Should be a lot of fun, so let's get right into it. So what we're going to do in this lesson is just look at a few examples of multiplying complex numbers, and I think that's the best way to learn how to multiply them, is just see the process a few times, and we'll go over, of course, everything that's going on in this multiplication. So let's start off with an example. We've got 2 plus 3i, and let's say we're multiplying that by negative 3 plus 4i. So how do we multiply these two complex numbers? There's really only a few things we need to know to be able to multiply these complex numbers. We need to know how to use the distributive property, we need to know the properties of I, as in I squared is equal to negative 1, and we need to be able to add like terms, and then we'll be able to multiply these two complex numbers no problem. So let's start. We're going to start off with the distributive property. So 2, at first, gets multiplied by negative 3. So we have a negative 6, writing out the product of these two complex numbers. Then we multiply 2 by 4i, which is 8i. So we have negative 6 plus 8i. Now we're moving on to 3i. Let's use a different color. Now we have 3i times negative 3. That's negative 9i. Then we have 3i times 4i. That's plus 12i squared. So 3 times 4 is 12. I times I is I squared. So we have 12i squared. Now we're almost done. We've just got to simplify this expression. So we've got negative 6, and then 8i minus 9i is negative 1i, so we have minus I, and then we have plus 12i squared. But what is that equal to? Well, again, we know that I squared is equal to negative 1, so we can rewrite this as 12 times negative 1, which of course is just negative 12. So what we have here at the end is minus 12. So again, we've got the negative 6, 8i minus 9i is negative 1i, and then 12i squared is negative 12. So now we've got negative 6 minus I minus 12, and then of course we just add our like terms, negative 6 and negative 12. That gives us negative 18 minus I, and this is the product of these two complex numbers. 2 plus 3i times negative 3 plus 4i is equal to negative 18 minus I. And again, all we did here was first use the distributive property. That's how we got from here to here. We just multiplied the complex numbers using the distributive property. Then we used the properties of I to say that 12i squared is equal to negative 12. Using that information and then adding some like terms, we got to this part, negative 6 minus I minus 12. And then again, just adding like terms, negative 6 plus negative 12, and then of course we still have the minus I, and that leads us to negative 18 minus I. Alright, now let's do another example. Let's say we have 8 minus 4i, and let's multiply that by, let's say, 5 plus I. So we start off, again, by using the distributive property. So we have 8 times 5, which gives us 40, and then we have 8 times I, which is just plus 8i. Then we switch to a different color for the negative 4i. We have negative 4i times 5 is minus 20i, and then negative 4i times I is negative 4i squared. So one more time, 8 times 5, that gave us 40. 8 times I, that gave us positive 8i. Negative 4i times 5 gave us negative 20i, and negative 4i times I gave us negative 4i squared. So now let's simplify this expression, just like we did before. We have 40 here at the start, and then 8i minus 20i, that's negative 12i, so we have 40 minus 12i. And then again, we've got this negative 4i squared, which is equal to negative 4 times negative 1, because I squared is equal to negative 1, so this is just equal to 4. So here at the end, we just have a plus 4. So here we are, again, at the second to last step. We just have to add these two real numbers together. So now we have 44, that's 40 plus 4, minus 12i. And this is the product of these two complex numbers. So all you've got to do is use the distributive property, use the properties of I, add like terms, and be very careful with your signs. As long as you don't screw up your signs, your positives and negatives, you should be all right when you're multiplying complex numbers. Let's do one more example quickly, and let's throw in some fractions for the heck of it. So let's say we've got 7/3 minus, let's say 5i, and let's multiply that by 2 plus, let's say 6 over 7i. So again, we start off with the distributive property. We have 7/3 times 2, that's going to be 14/3, and then we have 7/3 times 6/7 I, and that's 42 over 21i. That's 7 times 6 in the numerator and 3 times 7 in the denominator, and then of course we have to multiply by I. Now let's switch to red. We've got negative 5i times 2, that's minus 10i, and then we've got negative 5i times 6/7 I. That's negative 30 over 7i squared. So now again, all we've got to do is simplify this expression. So rewriting it, we've got 14/3 here at the start. Then we have 42 over 21i minus 10i. Well, you might notice that 42 over 21 is just equal to 2. So this is equal to plus 2i minus 10i. And then remember at the end, I squared is equal to negative 1. So this whole expression here is positive 37ths. So we have plus 30 over 7. Because again, it was negative 30 over 7 multiplied by negative 1. So we get positive 30 over 7. Now let me move some of this stuff around just so I don't have to cram the next bit into the bottom of the screen. Move this expression over here, and let's just draw a line dividing these two pieces of work. So now this is what we're at. We just have to simplify this expression. So now all we've got to do is find a common denominator for these fractions and add our like terms. And for a common denominator, we'll shoot for 21. So we're going to multiply 14 over 3 by 7 over 7. So that's going to be 98 over 21. Again, that's just multiplying this fraction by 7 over 7 in order to get common denominators. So now we have plus 2i minus 10i, that's minus 8i, and then we're going to multiply 30 over 7 by 3 over 3 in order to get common denominators. So we have 90 over 21. And this is just equal to 188 divided by 21 minus 8i. We just added the real numbers, and of course we've still got the minus 8i, so this is our final answer. So when you multiply these two complex numbers, this is what you get, 188 over 21 minus 8i. So I hope these few examples made the process of multiplying complex numbers pretty clear to you. All we've got to do is use the distributive property, be careful with all of your signs, use the properties of I, changing I squared to negative 1, and add like terms, and usually you'll get to the answer in no time. So I hope this video helped you understand how to multiply complex numbers. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, need anything clarified, or have any other video requests. I'd be happy to go through some more examples if any of you would like to see some. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time, and be sure to subscribe for the swankiest math videos on the internet. And a big thanks to Valo, who, upon my request, kindly gave me permission to use his music in my math lessons. Link to his music in the description.